What's interesting that you mentioned, Vivian, about having orgs within an org, and we're going back to the whole beginning of our conversation about shifting priorities and getting the whole organization behind those decisions. I think the understanding the reason why you're prioritizing certain things is and communicating that effectively, I think is really, really fascinating, especially when you're communicating the difference between why something is critical for the business. And so I was wondering if you had other insights or other lessons that you wanted to share. I think especially related to like how to communicate engineering and operations critical priorities for folks. Because I think sometimes the gap for like why you should make a certain engineering decision and communicate that as a priority is a lot harder to communicate. And so I was wondering if you had other insights or lessons to share around that.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process. We do all hands every 2 weeks, and I think in the past I haven't. I've used the all hands as more of an opportunity to celebrate the team or celebrate, individual students or instructors on the platform, and not so much to talk about, certain priorities. I think that was a mistake. And so recently for our all hands, I surfaced kind of all the top level company metrics as well as what why those are the priorities and what individual people or teams are doing to support those priorities. And I think that's actually made things a lot clearer for folks. And so we're also building a KPI dashboard so people can see that on a daily basis if they like, but usually a weekly basis. And those kinds of things, I think, just help people understand the context, but also the numbers, which I think a lot of the time people want to know because um, it kind of grounds various trends that we're seeing as well. That actually did a lot to communicate with folks like, hey, yeah, when I look at the numbers, like this part is down and this part is up, and so it makes sense that we focus on this part that's down. And that actually has I think unlocked a way of thinking for us that was previously different, which is like, before I think we would make a lot of more moonshot bets that were not as much backed in, hey, this is the company goal or whatever the case is. Like I actually hear this with a lot of companies when they're searching for growth that's led by product. It's very hard. You basically make like a bunch of very greenfield bets and they don't always pan out. And for us, it's been a focus more on, this is the funnels that we see. These are the most important things for us to focus on. That's why this is one of the, you know, biggest company goals right now. And people can get behind that very easily. I think there are some times where you work with engineers who are like, hey, I wanted to solve this very gnarly technical problem in video infrastructure. And we usually just filter those folks out at the interviewing stage for Juni. I think like it's hard, but you can't always build around folks like that who, if they want to solve a problem like that, should potentially be at a different company, and that's okay. I do think sometimes that folks try to over-index a little bit too much on the squeaky wheel, but for the most part, like your engineers want to build something really great and they are super smart and they want to learn why certain things are priorities, but once they do, like they're all on board. And I think that was like a big unlock for me as well. Not at Juni, but at the previous company that I was at. It was a AI e-commerce company, but like AI and e-commerce at the time. I mean, AI is still very greenfield, and so the people who came for AI, had a hard time working on the e-commerce aspects of the business, and like that was just kind of a reality that I think going into Juni, we've been pretty upfront during the hiring process. Like, hey, we look for product-oriented folks who are really here to build something great for our users. And if that's something you're excited about, all on board. And then that as has filtered out, I think, a lot of the issues that you might see with some folks who are very, different on what they want to focus on.